Cadillac. They have got 12 seats to fill, and I want to make my case for why I think Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas should be the drivers to get those seats. First of all, Sergio Perez. Now, Perez has always been a solid pair of hands to hit at the wheel of an F1 car, and when you're just starting out as a new team in the sport, that is something that you want to try and hit in one of your cars. And yes, as is known and as I've said a million times, Checo's last couple of seasons weren't great, but that is not because he's not a great driver. He is a good driver. I've said several times in videos past about how Perez was always a solid midfielder, and when you're just joining the sport and you're going to be, in the midfield probably, it wouldn't be that of a bad shout to have a solid midfielder who also happens to be a multiple time race winner who's driven for a world championship winning team in one of your cars. Just off the top of me head, secure 2020 from last on lap 1 to first at the checkered flag. Bahrain 2021, his Red Bull debut, he went from last at the start after having issues on the formation lap to 5th, I believe, at the checkered flag after a brilliant drive. I wonder what he could have done from his actual starting position. Baku 2023, before things started going to hell in a handbasket for Red Bull, sticks out as one of the few weekends where at Red Bull he was able to be really ahead of Max in terms of performance. Singapore 2022 also sticks out as one where he was pretty solid all weekend in the race, especially getting ahead at the start and then being able to hold on to that lead really and just stay there at the front and bring home the win despite the penalties and all that. But he made the most of the Force India cars that he had when he was there. I could go on, but I want to because we all came the shtick by now. He has also proven that he can be a really good team player, which is nice to have in your team. I also feel like having a driver, at least fade North America, not the same country as the team is from. Cadillac is an American team, Checo is Mexican. They're not the same country, they're different countries, but having at least a driver from the same continent the team it's from might be good from a PR/marketing standpoint. I don't know. Americans, Mexicans, please chime in. I'm no marketing genius, but either way, I think a lot would like to see Checo return to the grid, especially perhaps, the Mexican fans out there, and perhaps the guys and girls over at the Mexican Grand Prix, which will be on the calendar for a few more years. That got renewed, it got extended for years to come, and I may be reading too much into things, but to me, the Mexican Grand Prix getting renewed is a sign that they're pretty confident that Checo will be back, or perhaps we'll have a different Mexican driver on the grid, but to me, it seems like a bit of a sign that Checo's going to be back. And with that being said, on to Valtteri Bottas. First, at a PR/marketing standpoint, this choice is a no-brainer. The job of Cadillac's social media team will be made so much easier if you have Mr. Honorary Australian over here is in your team. On a similar line to what I said about Checo, Bottas has always been a solid pair of hands to have behind the wheel of an F1 car. Also like Checo, yeah, when he departed the grid the last couple of seasons he hadn't been great, but that is not because he is no great driver. He was in a fucking Sauber, for God's sake. And yes, people will be quick to point out he had a bit of a habit of fading a little as the season went on during his time at Mercedes, but Bottas was always a reliable pair of hands. He was always reliable for bringing home the results that was able to help Mercedes in winning the constructors as many times as they did in a row. He was always bringing home some brilliant drives to bring home those solid results, and always played a great rear gunner for Lewis in helping him win drivers' championships, whether he was overly thrilled to do it or not. Bottas really has had some times of coming out the gates swinging, really. He came out the gates swinging in 2022 when he joined Alfa Romeo Sauber. He came out the gates swinging in 2019, and I think we all remember that if to whom it may concern, fuck you, or whatever it was he said. Or he won the opening race of the season, he won the 4th race of the season, a redemption really in Baku that he should have won the previous year, but tire failure and all, but slightly off track there. Bottas can be a great team player, and as I said, it's handy to have someone like that. Now, I was listening to Valtteri's most recent appearance on F1's Beyond the Grid podcast a couple of weeks back, and the host Tom Clarkson did ask him about Cadillac, and here's a sum up of what he had to say on the topic. Now, he said that he doesn't think that Cadillac are in a hurry to sort their driver lineup, and they're more focused on making sure that they can hit a car on the grid next year, which is very understandable. But he knows his timeline and when he wants to kind about next year and what plans he needs to make. And he also said, and I quote, "But hopefully we will hear something more soon." Again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but to me that kind of sounds like a signal that maybe him and his team are in contact with Cadillac. His name has come up in regards to the seat, with them, as has Checo's, but I move on. He thinks that they have a few drivers on their list for who they could sign, and he says that he imagines his experience will help, and I'd be inclined to agree. He hopes he's in a good position and sees it as a very interesting project, something new to Formula One. And he said, for me, let's say if I would be there as a driver, would be actually very interesting because you can start from scratch. And he points out how you can make a big influence on, what direction that they go in and all that. He said it would be very motivating and rewarding when the success comes, and he also said he thinks it's a good time with rule change for a new team to be coming into the sport. To me, it sounds like him and his team are perhaps in contact with Cadillac. I mean, I wouldn't blame them. It's an avenue for Bottas to get back onto the Formula One grid. It will be great to see him back. I'm pretty sure his name does keep kind of cropping up in regards to linking to the seat, as is Checo's. Checo's name will not go away when it comes to linking to that seat. But I say screw it and they sign both of them. Because just a bit of a more general Cadillac point, I can't help but feel like it'd be more beneficial for the team for them to go with two experienced hands that know F1. One experienced hand would be good, yes, but if you've got two of them opposed to one no being as experienced, then you don't have to worry about your drivers not caning as well what they're doing, so to speak. You know they'll cane what to do, and especially when you're talking about drivers who've been in top multiple championship winning teams. They can bring that experience they have from being in those top teams to Cadillac to try and help them move forward and progress up the grid and get towards the top. Having drivers who cane their way around F1 will no doubt be beneficial for them in getting their feet underneath them, so why not go for 12 pairs of experienced F1 hands to begin with to get themselves started? And my final point is, we get these two as teammates, we can finally settle the debate of which 2021 number 2 driver is better in the same machinery. Who do you think Cadillac should sign for 2026? Let me get your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.